Hello and welcome to the Monday Morning Reset. I'm so glad you've decided to join me here today. And I want to spend some time talking about a really important aspect of our relationships with God that I think most of us, myself included, are missing out on most of the time. And that is this idea of enjoying Him, enjoying a God and the time we spend with Him. And I think the way that this plays out is there's a temptation, right? Maybe it's the 21st century, maybe it's being Americans, maybe it's being capitalists, who knows? But there's this temptation for us to always be busy, always be doing things, always be productive. And then that seeps into our relationship with God, right? We want to do so many things for God. We read the Bible and we can find and create basically massive checklists for ourselves of things we need to be doing so we can be more like Jesus. And that's all well and good, but we get caught up, right? We get caught up in these good, godly tasks. We get caught up and focused on just singing praises to God, doing things for God, and we forget to just be with Him and to just enjoy Him. What is the point of coming to a church service? What is the point of going to youth group? What is the point of reading your Bible, of listening to that worship music if you're not going to delight in your relationship with the Lord? Because when you have that deep, intimate relationship with Him, it's a source of joy for you. In fact, it should be the source of joy for you. And I want to look at a passage that I think just demonstrates this perfectly. And I think a lot of you are probably familiar with it. It's in Luke chapter 10, and it's the story of Martha and Mary. And if you pick up at verse 38, we're going to start. Jesus and His disciples have been traveling for a while. So we pick up there, and it says, while they were traveling, He entered a village, that's Jesus, and a woman named Martha welcomed Him into her home. She had a sister named Mary, who also sat at the Lord's feet and was listening to what He said. But Martha was distracted by her many tasks, and she came up and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to serve alone? So tell her to give me a hand. And the Lord answered her. He says, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has made the right choice, and it will not be taken away from her. And maybe you're like me. I think most of you probably are. I take Martha's side in that, right? If we look at the text and what's happening here, I don't think it's too far of a leap to assume that the tasks that Martha was trying to accomplish were for her guests. What happens when people just show up at your house unannounced and you invite them in? All right, you got to clean some things up. You've got to set the table. You're probably going to make a meal. You're going to ask and see if they need anything. And in fact, it says here, Martha is saying, don't you care that my sister has left me to serve alone? So here Martha is trying to get her house ready, probably trying to cook a meal, trying to serve Jesus, who she is recognizing as the Lord here. And her sister has left her and is just sitting there, hanging out with Jesus, listening to what He says. In fact, it says that she sat at the Lord's feet. So she's sitting at the feet of Jesus, just listening while her sister is hard at work, cleaning the house and working in the kitchen. But Jesus says to her, when she complains, He says, one thing is necessary. One thing. Mary has made the right choice, and it will not be taken away from her. Mary, in that moment, understood the importance not of doing, not of accomplishing things for Jesus, but the importance of just being with Him, of being taught by Him, of being in His presence and enjoying Him. And I think that all of us could stand to be a little more like Mary, right? To take that attitude and just be in His presence and enjoy that intimacy, enjoy the learning, enjoy the growing. I want to look at Philippians chapter 4. So there's this idea of finding joy in the Lord, right? And maybe you know this. In Philippians 4, verse 4, it says, rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. And most of us are familiar with that verse, or we've heard one that's like it. Maybe rejoice in the hope of the Lord, rejoice in the glory of the Lord. And the word rejoice is actually found in your Bible 238 times, 238 times we see that word rejoice, most of which are talking about rejoicing in the Lord, finding a joy in Him. And if we see that word that many times in our Bibles, don't we think that's important? And don't we see that there's beauty and there's a huge measure of grace in the idea that part of our relationship with God is going to bring us joy. It's going to be our source of joy. And I wanted to share, I had a teacher say this once, and I thought it was so important that I wanted to share it with you. And they said, if we are so busy trying to impress God that we forget to enjoy Him, we have missed it. We have missed it if we're not finding joy in Him, if we're not taking time to rejoice in the Lord, to find joy in that relationship, to recognize God as the one true source of our joy. And though it seems maybe counterintuitive, maybe we feel like, we have this a great commission, we need to be going and doing. We can't go and do without first being strengthened. And the source of our hope, of our peace, of our strength, of our joy is found in Jesus Himself. And so I want to challenge you this week, as you're spending time with God. Maybe it's in your church service or your small group. Maybe it's reading your Bible at home. Maybe it's when you're jamming to your worship playlist in the car. Take a moment and try to take stock. Are you just doing so you can say that you're doing? Are you trying to impress God? Are you trying to check something off your spiritual to-do list? Or are you actually enjoying your time in the presence of God? Are you simply there to be, or are you trying to do? So this week, friends, let's go. Let's find time to be with Him and to rejoice in the Lord. And may the Lord bless you and keep you this week.